get across those emotions. Okay, good, perfect. Just English and overall. Apole. Yeah, so the slam is an interesting thing. It combines almost all the elements of English, right? You got the reading part because you got to incorporate some facts and research. You got the writing part that you're actually doing, and then you got the speaking part. And so it will give you kind of more confidence in seeing things from an artistic lens. Very good. Vocal expressions. Okay, expression, good. Improve emotions. Yeah, so it's different when you write and then when you perform. Yeah, perform. Okay, good. Presenting. Sound like actual poetry. Oh, okay, so that's one of the things we have sometimes, even for myself, I have in my mind what poetry should sound like. But there are things that you can do. There are definitely little tricks that you can do to make things sound poetic. Just English in general, right? Fair enough. Improve my literature in your poem. Okay. All right, so for some of these, I think it pertains to the writing part, so I can kind of hop in on your docs that you guys are working on and give you feedback in that way. But I think going through today's workshop will also help you see maybe perhaps where the gaps are in the emotional content and how to go about expressing those. All right, so thank you guys for sharing, I appreciate that. So we'll get into the formal presentation. So the slam comes under the larger umbrella of spoken word. So spoken word embodies, just open mic, it embodies comedy, it even involves a little bit of, acoustic guitar on stage. And so anything that's performed kind of with just through orality is considered spoken word, right? You're sharing the vocal experience and those emotions with an audience, whether they're on screen like I'm doing or whether they're in person. Yeah. I will say that the modern slam has ventured into what is known as artivism. Yeah, so using art as a platform for social causes. So for a long time, the slam was like entertaining, it was funny, it was emotional, people could be entertained by it. Similar with all other media, right? We're entertained by things. But at some point, we have to use our voices and our art to evoke some type of change, whether it's in people's minds or actual physical change, in your immediate community or larger world. And so that's the power of words, guys. The power of words, if we've learned anything from the last 4 years in the pandemic, is that words can change things. Yeah. So recognize that you, as artists now, have that power and that responsibility. So it's a cool thing when you switch from critic to artist. And I shared with the last group, that's one of my mantras, is that the world does not really need more critics. Everybody can criticize things, right? You can analyze things, and that's good. That's great that you can analyze, break things down, deconstruct. But at some point, you need to reconstruct, right? And as artists, you do that. You're given this space and this venue for that. So it's super exciting that you guys get to be considered artists. Put that on your resume. All right, so this is the intro to slam poetry. This is where a lot of people have seen slam poetry outside of YouTube. And was it 22 Jump Street? I think like Julia, Rob, Hertz. So there is kind of a comedic side that's associated with it, but just recognize that there's a very serious side as well. So to recap, slam poetry is poetry that is performed for an audience. I'll say that again, for an audience. That's a major difference. A lot of times when you guys are writing poetry, whether it's for your teacher or maybe even for yourselves, like in your journal or something like that, it's for you, right? It's a cathartic experience. You're doing things to express emotion, get across ideas. And that's great, because one of the purposes of writing is to organize your own thoughts. If your writing is disorganized, that means that your thinking about the subject is disorganized. That's the whole reason why you write stuff. Yeah, that's why we have academia to house this knowledge in certain places. Yeah, in this Western setting. So recognize that as much as you want your poem to be for you, and it should be something you care about, you're trying to reach an audience. Yeah. The other thing is meant to be heard and seen rather than read. So I have a phrase that I use, and a lot of other poets use it as well, but it's page and stage. So you have poetry for the page, you have poetry for the stage. And poetry for the page, you have to think about a lot of things. You have to think about enjambment, you have to think about line breaks, you have to think about white space, you have to think about stanzas, you have to think about form. For the stage, you don't necessarily have to think about that. So arguably, you could have a block of prose that reads as poetry. So you don't have to get so caught up on the form on the page, if that makes sense. You can have line breaks that remind you to say things a certain way, but you don't have to get so caught up in that. Lastly, it draws heavily on what we call the music of poetry. So the things that have sound, that bring beautiful sound to words, right? Things like repetition, like rhyme, like alliteration, like consonants, like assonance, all of those things, including imagery, right? Because it does create a certain tone and image in your mind. So you're going to incorporate, this is the reason why you guys learn stuff. This is why your teachers in 9th grade, 10th grade, even before that in middle school, make you memorize literary terms so that you can use them. You got to know when to use them purposely, because certain literary devices, as you guys know, create certain emotions and have a certain impact. Artists just don't throw those things in there for fun. So if you are at a loss of literary devices and don't remember them, time to revisit them as an artist, because those are your tools. All right, so I'm going to briefly go over just the origins, just to give you kind of some background on kind of how the slam emerged. So like true spoken word emerged. I mean, you could go back way back if we wanted to the Greeks and Sophocles and Aeschylus, where they used to have these oration championships. As you guys know, for the Greeks, the value of thought was just as important as body, right? So you had to be super smart as well as physically fit to be considered a great person, contributor to society. But anyway, kind of the reemergence of these things in its modern format took place in the 50s and 60s. Artistic places, epicenters in New York City and San Francisco, kind of like ancient Greece, where the arts flourished. And so these dudes on screen, some of the names might be familiar. Bob Dylan, for sure, should resonate with you guys. William Carlos Williams, he does this kind of creative poetry. But Jack Kerouac and Allen Ginsberg, actually, they were the pioneers of early sampling. Yeah. So we owe a lot to pop culture, pop music, hip hop in particular, to these dudes right here on the screen. Yeah. So know that slam poetry and spoken word has always been counterculture. It's been used as a means of attaining social justice. It's been used as a means of expressing thought, for sure. So you guys, again, are part of that literary tradition now. So huge responsibility. All right, so I'd also be remiss if I did not mention stereotypes. So from this period, this jazzy period, we get that idea of wearing all blacks, and these poets are like really dark, and they're in coffee houses, and there's bongos playing and incense burning, and people are talking like this and real rhythmic tones, and there's snaps going on. Yeah, so the truth is, I mean, that was part of the early slam, but it has emerged into a larger movement now. But we do owe part of that to that time period. So as I mentioned, huge shift in paradigm. I do want to reemphasize this one more time. So there's a shift in poem for self and poem for others. That's the beauty of the slam. So be thinking about who you're trying to reach and in what way with your poems. So features of the slam, one of the big things, I'll put a couple of these out here, is that it is a competition. And when you add in a competitive element, it ups the stakes a little bit. Yeah. So as much as, I mean, when I say poems, of course, I want to get my words across. I want to influence people. But for me, selfishly, sometimes I want to win. I want to go places to like smash other poets and win. Yeah. And so, I mean, that's just my competitive side as well. So it is a little bit of a game. You guys all don't have to play that game, but for some of you, it will be. Yeah. So how the slam started is, legend goes, this guy, Mark Smith, in the 80s-ish, he's from Chicago. There's actually a picture of the Green Mill. It's still there. Poets often go there. They still have slams there. But anyway, he was a construction worker. Stereotype is that construction workers don't always like to, listen to artsy type things. Total stereotype, but we'll play with that stereotype. He tried to get his friends to come and watch these open mic nights, and his friends weren't having like that. That's so boring. Like, these people are just spewing things about themselves and how crappy their lives are. I don't want to listen to that. It's depressing. And so he decided to add this competitive element. And so how a typical slam would work is that, I don't know, there might be 5 to 10 poets that come into a venue. And the judges are actually chosen from the crowd, from the audience. So you could be an audience member. So they'll give 5 clipboards or kind of flipboards with numbers to any 5 members of the audience. Yeah. So the poet will get up, they'll draw randomly. Okay, so Mr. Anderson, you're up. So I'll go up, I perform my poem, and then they'll say, all right, judges, scores. So all the 5 judges would hold up a sign, and some of them would be like on screen, 8.8, 8.9, 10, 10.3, 10.4, whatever it is. And then what happens is they drop the high and low score and they take the sum of the remaining 3 scores. So perfect slam score in a typical slam would be 30 points. Yeah. And then in some slams, it's just 1 round. In some other slams, they have like larger slams, there's different rounds. So you have to think about, it's a little more strategic, and you come with a bunch of different poems. Am I going to do my best poem first so I can get to the second round? Am I going to hold off and wait? Can I get there to do my best poem? And so for you guys are lucky. You guys are just doing 1 poem, right? And you'll have the chance to redo that poem if you advance. Yeah. So it'll be a cool experience. For those of you who make it to that next round, like you're probably thinking right now, like, no way I want to do it again. But once you get to that stage, you're going to be super excited to share that same poem and get the same energy and feedback, and even more perhaps in a different or larger venue. So it'll be exciting. I just want to point out that the youth have been a huge part of the slam movement for the past 20 years all over the country. They have slam venues, slam festivals, open mic nights. When you guys go to college even, I'm sure there are lots of different slams that go on. So maybe you guys can participate now that you guys will have a poem in your pockets. I'll also say that Hawaii was one of the epicenters of slam poetry. You guys listen to Jamaica, I'm sure Osorio. Her team, as you guys know, Team Hawaii won a couple years in a row, and the teams that she mentored after that also advanced to national championships. So Hawaii is recognized on the national and even global scale as powerhouses in the slam poetry realm and in the spoken word realm. And just because we have so many topics to draw from, right, from colonization, there's so much to be said and so much emotion that goes along with all the things in Hawaii that we have great subject matter that people can latch onto. So again, you guys are part of that tradition. So kind of just bringing it together. Again, slam poetry has a message or purpose. It's delivered passionately. So again, make sure that your poems have a singular purpose. It considers the audience. The third bullet, I'll just point out that the performer yourself has a clear attitude or persona. What this means is that although the poem is you and yours, it doesn't necessarily have to be you. Okay, it can be representative of all males, all females, a subgroup. It can be an object even. So recognize that the author yourself doesn't necessarily have to be the narrator. So keep that in mind. You can distance yourself from your poem. It also has strong storytelling. So there are a lot of different things that you guys have learned about story structure. One thing that I want you to remember is that it has a clear beginning, middle, and end. So there's some type of rise in action and then some type of conclusion. So if you can have that in your poem, it's bookended pretty well. If you kind of if you only have like a beginning and middle and you don't have a clear ending, your poem won't be as strong. Or even if you don't have a clear opening to set the stage for stuff. So just remember that general story structure. Lastly, it utilizes elements of the stage. So those of you guys who are in theater, have performed, you have an advantage for sure. Yeah. So I know I'm on screen right now, but there are things like, blocking that you can do, changing of directions, like looking up. I'll perform a poem for you folks and you'll see how I utilize that. But there's a little bit of movement that can go a long way to help convey certain emotions. And we'll go over that as well. All right, just some other skills. The interesting thing is we're all wearing masks when we perform, except for you right now on screen. So your eyes are going to be way more expressive. There's been some studies in the past year that suggest that people have been way more expressive with their eyes just because they have to convey certain emotion. Like, how do you know somebody's smiling or is sad or is mad? You have to read their eyes. And so this one should be interesting to see how this comes through in mass performances. Yesterday was the first time I actually performed with a mask on. It was an interesting experience. And we'll talk about the volume, speed, articulation. Obviously, facial expressions some will be done, and we talked about gestures in the previous slide. So sometimes I do this workshop in different ways. Sometimes I'll have you guys watch some poems that I curate, and then you can critique them. For our purposes, I'll do a live poem for you folks, so you can kind of just see and kind of, it'll be different. Obviously, I'm not in the classroom space with you folks, but I think that the emotion will come across on screen. It did for the last period anyway. So think about these things. So what is the message of the poem? What's the purpose? What are the literary devices that I'm using that you're hearing when your YouTube videos? What are some of the gestures? What works? What doesn't? So like, where are you engaged? Where are you disengaged? Maybe what I could have done differently to engage you. Could I have utilized ethos, pathos, logos a little bit better in certain ways? And then lastly, think about how you will score the poem. Okay, So because we're in education, we can use kind of a grading scale. So like a 10 would be equated to like 100, like A plus, that's the best thing. Like a 90 would be like a 9.0 would be like a 90 minus, like a 9.5 would be like a solid A, 8.0 B, so on and so forth. Yeah, so be thinking about how you would score if you were a judge. All right, so I have this poem for you folks called Island Chain that I'll share with you. All right, so as far as time limit goes, it's about 3 minutes-ish, so it fits within the allotted time frame for poems. The reason why Mark Smith had a time cap is because most people's attention spans are about 2 to 3 minutes. That's why songs on the radio about 2 to 3 minutes, because that's your attention span. Yeah, I'm always pretty cognizant of when I've reached the 2-minute mark. I see students usually, if I'm not super engaging, they'll kind of check out the window or check something else out or drift off. So that's why your poem needs to be concise. You want to capture people's attention in that span of time. Yeah. The reason why I chose this poem is I wrote it a long time ago, about maybe 10 years ago, but I think it's still relevant. It still kind of captures the process that I think every Native person or Aboriginal or Indigenous person goes through at some point in regards to colonization. And it might align to some of the things that you guys are thinking about now. My thoughts have changed a lot on the matter as I've been educated, but I think it captures that angst for that time period. And I think even what's been going on the past couple years or so, for sure. So this is Island Chain. Our island chain has become an island chained. To our US kin in name, it's one and the same. And it's just us we have to blame, because 95% of our food is imported and the land doesn't understand why it isn't important anymore. Because it can sustain if you let it, and it did. It did. You see, we forget it ever happened. It seemed that this myth was dismissed like the mist and power of steam, all for the new dream of Western wealth. Freaking Oprah said Hawaii is the best place to buy land. So brah, from Hilo to West Kauai, they came from the mainland to our mainland, to our arcane cane land. And sure, I can understand why gas prices are high. But tell me, why is water still higher? And why are we still trying to master the fire within earth to find worth or successes in geothermal disasters that have poisoned the water faster than arsenic from plantations and cane fields? And now generations of families all have a strange feel in limbs, wondering what cancer lurks within them. It's all become a blurred history. Hawaii's a vacation destination, and it's no mystery why they fought for this to be a military location. You see the basis? Army bases carve holes in faces of mountains, Kuahivi who see me with eyes broken and begging for help, begging for health, wounds wide open from weapons, forgetting self, all to protect this Western wealth. So the mountain cries in streams, streams tinged red, which now run dry, becoming the red earth to stain shirts and skins. It's the same blood within us that flows below in dirt, the same red earth that's worth a few to millions. What used to be a view to children used to be a view from a pavilion. Now to see the same view, you need a few $million because it's been filled in with followers, those that support the idea of thieves and gave rise to the ownership of land. Those who don't understand the land belonged to no man, the land belonged to self. And in itself, the land is wealth. It's a resource, not a source that's dealt out and with. A shift in thought must in minds occur and remain, because we are the missing link in this island chain. Mahalo. Snap, snap, snaps.
Let's go ahead and get in the chat and let's hear what you guys have to say. Dang.
Yeah, so it's a little different every time I perform it, but I try and capture some of that same emotion. So yeah, so so you guys can critique a little bit. I'll send you guys this PowerPoint so you guys have some stuff. Rhythmic, yes. Important words, very good. Yeah, so in what ways did I draw out certain words, important words. Slow down, very good, yes. Emotion, slow down, yeah, very good. Yeah, facial expression. So some of the things that we talked about, depth and intensity, enunciation, yes. We'll talk about how to do that in poetry as well. We'll do a little bit of practice. Good, good, good. Hand motions, yeah. So you saw how I stepped back, yeah, because I have to be cognizant of how I appear on screen. So I stepped back when I wanted to be more expressive, when I wanted to reach a larger audience, when I'm talking about kind of the global aspect of things, the larger things outside of me. And then I came back here when the narrative became more personal. So that's how you can utilize that stage presence to get across certain emotions. What I'm doing purposefully is causing you to think in your head and see more expressive and then come in. It's the same thing with like architecture. When you go into churches, there's a reason why they're huge and pointed, right? It's meant to take your eye up to God. Yeah. So same thing with your space. You can manipulate people's minds in that way. Yeah, ended where I started. Yeah, so that's that storytelling structure, Apole, the kind of the book ending of things. And so, I mean, what I did, that island chain part, that's kind of a cheap way to bookend things. And that's kind of how I was writing at that particular time. Okay, very good. Yeah, so I think you guys kind of addressed most of the things, most of these questions that I had or I have on screen right now. So what we'll do lastly is we'll go ahead and score just to kind of see how everybody would score this particular poem. And I promise you won't hurt my feelings. Like I've gotten everything from 7s to 10s for this poem. And so, and depending on the audience again. But on the count of 3, think about how you would score the poem. Again, from 1 to 10, you can use decimal points if you want. And then just go ahead and type it in the chat. Just for fun, we'll score. All right. So everybody got their score? 1, 2, 3, go. Oh, 10s with a smiley face. Mahalo. 9.5. Sweet. Yeah, so I'll take some 9s. Thank you guys. Appreciate that. 8s and 9s are awesome. So usually what happens in slams too, I'll just share this. Usually the very first poem is underscored just because you don't have anything to compare it to. But yeah, pretty good scores. Not bad. I'll take that. Mahalo you guys for listening and being attentive. All right, so we'll switch gears a little bit. We'll get to the actual kind of workshopping part. So a big part of performance, again, is kind of how do you convey emotion? And you do that through a couple of ways, whether you realize it or not. You do this all the time, probably in talking to your friends, your parents, but how do you do it more purposefully in this written piece that you have, right? So we'll talk about tone, volume, rate, and pitch. And put Drake up here. He's a perfect example of how his voice kind of fits the different emotions that he conveys on record. All right, so tone is actually the emotional content part. So that's where we're gonna start. Other things are kind of just variation of tone. So it's the way that we fill this space, fill words. What do we fill them with when we're speaking? Because alone, they're just words, right? On the page, they exist and people interpret them however they will interpret them. But you have the opportunity now to bring those words to life. So you can imagine, I'm sure you've been in classrooms or even like discussions with your parents or friends where things are monotone. So it's very flat, right? Very flat. So always think about the stereotypical, Charlie Brown teacher, or we talked about the last class, Ferris Bueller, right? Bueller, 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 you just kind of tune out. So how do you engage your audience in different ways utilizing tone? So we're gonna do a quick exercise with the phrase come here, and you're going to work with a partner, small group. Ms. Kabatu will assign you guys, I think, in class, can they partner up?
Yep, they can do it. And okay. I have the rooms ready to go this time, so I'm
perfect. Nice. We're on the same page. I love it. Love it. After the first one, we're good to go. Okay. So there's this quick phrase, come here. So I want you guys to try and practice it in a bunch of different ways. So what's going to happen is you'll say come here in an angry tone to your partner will say it back, and try and give yourself a little bit of feedback. Say, oh, like, was it angry? Like, was it really angry? Was it more funny when you said it? So if you feel weird, it's going to feel weird probably at first. You're probably going to laugh a little bit, but try and get into it and play with it. It's going to involve a little bit of acting if you guys can, and try and try and put variations on this phrase, come here, and just see how tone changes it. What I also want you guys to be cognizant of is your body language as you're saying it. So what motions are you doing to convey, say, angry or shy or sly or arrogant or any one of those things, okay? One example that I'll give up front is what. Yeah, and this is one we did last class. So what in a word exists like just that, right? What. The tone that you bring to it conveys the emotion, like this, right? What? You're gonna fight with somebody, right? Ready to scrap with somebody, right? So it's more angry. Another one might be, what? Yeah. So like a softer, more serious tone. Another one might be, if you draw it out, it's what? Like more surprised in that sense. Yeah. So I want you guys to use that phrase, come here. We'll take maybe 2 minutes or so. We'll see how many we can get through, and then we will reconvene. So have fun with it. Really try it out.
Oh, dang.
Come here.
Come here. Come
No.
here.
Come here.
You heard that one before, huh? Come here.
Come here, Blaze Figueroa. Right now.
Enough of that.
What else was it? Despair. Come here.
Come here. Come here.
Come here, Jake. Come here.
Here. Come here.
Alessia, talk. Come here, Alessia. Speak.
Come here. Come. Come, boy, come. Come, boy, come. Come, come, come.
Oh, shoot.
I call a dog, boy. Come, 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 come.
Come here, Jakey. Right now.
Come here. Easy, come here.
I mean, I can't. I stand in myself.
Come here. Come.
Come here.
Hey,
Come,
come
boy.
here.
Come here. No, come here.
No, you come here.
Oh, come here.
Hey, come here. Come here.
Come here.
Come here. Come here.
Okay, I win. Your turn. My turn? Yeah. Oh, okay. Wait, I didn't hear how you said it. What did you? I did again. Come here. Okay, okay. Come here. Yeah. Oh my god. Okay. 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 You gotta do another. Okay.
All right, are we all back? So I'll ask this. So hopefully you guys had fun. Hopefully, I mean, it probably felt silly a little bit, but what are some kind of physical gestures that went along with some of the emotions that you guys were trying to convey? So we'll say for angry, did you guys notice anything, any physical gesture? It could be leaning of head, could be like pointing, could be this, anything. You can go ahead and type it in the chat. Punching the desk, kicking over the table. He's really got into character. Neck action, yeah. Good. So how about for some of the other ones? We'll go like a happy, sad, sly. Like, did you guys kind of notice anything? Yeah, like neck action, like what? Like, all right. So the point that I'm okay, eyebrows, yeah, definitely good one. You go up a little bit more. You might lean in a little bit more. You might be more apprehensive. Please give me attention. Good. Someone in the other class, when they were happy, like they were like, come here. Like it was more like a like love, happy to see like their family or something like that. The stern finger. Perfect. So the point that I'm making here is that you might subconsciously do these things as you try and express these different emotions. So on the stage, you want to perhaps overemphasize those things. So if you did like a stern finger, like if you just like were on the side like this, like, oh, come here, like, or come here, you might overemphasize that by saying like, come here. You put it up a little bit more in-centered or something like that. Even when in my poem, when I like did a little gesture to the side, you know, kind of more questioning. So look for places to overemphasize a little bit more to convey that emotion when you guys are performing. So thank you guys for playing along. We have a couple more exercises that'll be similar to that. So the next one is volume, pretty straightforward. It's like louder, softer, yeah. But the things you have to consider is this last bullet in your own poem. Where would it vary and why would it vary? Okay. You saw places in my poem where I got louder for sure, because I wanted to emphasize certain emotions like that anger, that excitement, that apprehension. And then I got softer in places where it's more contemplative, right? And more personal. So you have to think about that in your own poems as well. What places do you need to get louder to evoke emotions like anger, like excitement, or other emotions like somberness and sadness and contemplativeness? All right, so we got 2 new phrases to add in. So this is what I would like you guys to do with a partner small group again. I want you guys to do, we'll go 3 different volumes. So loud, kind of your medium register, and then a softer register. And I want you to really try and focus on how just volumes, try and say it in the same way. So loudly one way, medium one way, and then softly one way. And I want you to notice what emotions are attached to that. So ask your partner, okay, what emotion did you feel when I said her rabbit died yesterday? And then I want a new car in different volume. So again, we'll take a couple minutes, do that, and then we'll reconvene.
Her rabbit died yesterday. That's pretty soft. Okay, you can go.
Her rabbit died yesterday.
I don't know how to be loud. Okay. Her rabbit died yesterday.
Her rabbit died yesterday.
I want a new car.
I want a new car. Is that the sentence? Okay.
I want a new car.
I want a new car.
Wait, no, that's not how.
What?
No, you can't have new car.
Oh,
Hand-me-downs, hand-me-downs,
That is very true.
used. Good. I hope this helps you guys. Like this is supposed to like really help you guys with the performance aspect. Kaylee, your poem. Dang, girl. Dang.
I was sitting there screaming in my room.
Yeah. I'm amazed like nobody bursted in like, are you okay? What's going on?
Oh yeah, I have to tell my mom. I always have to tell her beforehand. She's used to it.
Mm.
All right, we back. All right, so what were some of the emotions that are attached to, again, a louder volume? Just a couple. Hit them up in the chat or feel free to unmute. Demanding, very good. What else? Maybe a couple more. When you're louder, what emotion is it? Frustration, good. Anger, despair, yeah. So in places in your own poem, if once you guys go through, maybe in the margin or something like that, and I think you guys might have highlighted already. So if there are like anger, despair, frustration, you're gonna want to put a note to get louder in those places. Yeah. So on the flip side, what about when you're softer? What are some emotions associated with quiet or soft? Sad, yeah, definitely. Serious, yeah, it's more of a serious tone. Shy could come across as well. Empathy, yeah, because if you're screaming at somebody, like they can't empathize with you, right? You want to be calm and rational. Lacking confidence, super busted. Okay, that's true, right? That's true. All right, so same thing. Be thinking about how you can apply this to your own poem and what the emotions are. If it is you want people to be more empathetic or serious, make sure you're going down in those places. You cannot just have this, again, monotone voice the whole poem and expect people to be engaged emotionally. All right, next one is rate. So this is what you guys kind of pointed out in my own poem. There are places where I sped up, places where I slowed down. So how you speak, the tempo and rhythm at which you speak alters how people perceive your topic. Okay, super important. So we're gonna take the 3 phrases that we did previously, and I want you guys to play with rate. You can utilize a little bit of tone and volume as well to incorporate it into this, but think about how rate influences these sentences. So I'll just do one real quickly. So the first sentence, her rabbit died yesterday. Pretty, I don't know, for whatever reason, it's funny sometimes, right? Her rabbit died yesterday. So if I read it like this, her rabbit died yesterday, right? Emphasis is on the her. So in your mind, you might thinking about who is this character? Who is this female character? Whereas if I read it, her rabbit died yesterday, focus is on the rabbit. And so in your head, maybe you're thinking more about what this rabbit looks like. Are you picturing a white rabbit, a brown rabbit? Why are you picturing a rabbit? It's because I emphasize the word rabbit. Yeah. So rate does that. Yeah. You could even do a phrase like her rabbit died yesterday. Yeah. So now you're kind of breaking it up on her rabbit and then the place and time period yesterday. So why don't you guys do the same thing? Your small groups or with your partners, try and go through these 3 statements. Her rabbit died yesterday. I wanted a car. Come here and play with rate in different places. And I want you as a listener to think about what is emphasized in your mind or what imagery is created in your mind. All right. So real quick, couple minutes. All right, welcome back. So hopefully you guys were able to see just how placing emphasis on, certain words or certain phrases, again, forces the listener to have a certain image in their mind. And I think that was one of the questions early on, was how do I create imagery? Yeah, so this is kind of a cheap trick to get people to think about a particular image, yeah, just by using rate. All right, so this last one, it's probably the hardest one to do, but I'm just gonna mention it. Those of you who actually have singing voices and can sing well, you can really modulate your voice a lot more. So everybody, has this kind of natural pitch or natural kind of timbre to their voices, but there are places where you can go higher or lower to convey emotion as well. So this goes along with the other volume, rate, tone as well. So pitch, we'll do one more exercise, the last one, to wrap up, to bring everything together. So try, if you guys can, I want you to go high, middle, and low. Okay, so you don't need to go really high like that, but just a little higher, and you see what that does. Like, it's supposed to have a little bit more excitement, a little more happiness. Like, you're excited to see somebody. You might get your pitch might increase a little bit, and then of course you have your regular one, and then you have something a little lower. So you don't have to pretend like come here, like in a super low like baritone, but just a little lower. Like, what does that do? Like, come here, and notice naturally where your volume goes when you utilize pitch. Okay, so last one real quick, just go through 3 with a partner, and then we'll reconvene in a minute again.
Come here. Ooh.
Hey, no lock up. No lock up when I come in. Come on. Come here.
Oh, who's that?
It's your Kumu.
No, somebody whose voice is high. I hear.
Oh, Blaze.
What time you guys couldn't hear me? Come here. Wait, can you give us an example, Kumu?
Like, it's more like sing-songy, yeah, the pitch. So it's like the high and the low, kind of like when you sing. Come here. Yeah.
Come here.
Come here.
Come here.
Oh, come here. Come
Come
here.
here.
You- Come here.
Come. Come here.
Come on. Come here. Come here.
Come here.
Come here.
Come here.
Come here.
Come here.
We just practiced.
Of course you did.
No, we really did.
I know. You have eggs. Look all the eggs you didn't find. They're all behind you. Golden egg right there. I see it.
Oh, do you really?
That's really fancy. Come here.
All right, and most of us are back. So you should have had kind of fun with it, I guess. Hopefully there's some laughs going on. I saw a little bit, like expression of eyes. You should be able to see again the emotion that goes along with just like a lower pitch, yeah, or a higher pitch. And so all of these things combined again create that emotional impact, or give emotional impact rather, to the words that are on your page. Yeah. So again, when you are writing or going back to draft and make notations, you can utilize the kind of the tone, the volume, the rate, and the pitch, and make little notations for yourself whether it just be underlining certain things, whether it be bolding things, whether it's like a caret to go up, or something in parentheses even, or brackets that says higher pitch here. As you practice your poems, you're going to need those cues to at least get you started. So again, hopefully that you can recognize some of these things and how you'll be able to use them in your own pieces. Yeah. So before I switch gears to the performance tips, any questions or comments at this point? No, good to go. Wait time, wait time, wait time. And all right, we can move on. All right, so what I'm going to do is close out the presentation with just some general tips for speaking and performing poetry. Again, the idea was for you guys to feel a little bit more comfortable, a little less stress perhaps in the performance aspect, and be able to translate your words to performance. So these are actually kind of modified versions of this dude, Taylor Mali. He's a prolific slam poet. He's also a teacher, so I have an affinity for him as well. These are kind of 13 tips that he has to perform well in public. So first one is just performance is an editing tool. So one of the common things for students to do is, or even any artist rather, is to write a poem and you're so attached to this poem, like it's your baby, right? This is your poem, this is your piece of art that you're putting out into the world, and you don't want to change that. Any criticism to that is an attack on you. So what I'm asking you folks to do is, as you say your poem now, as it translates from the page to the stage, be open to feedback. If there are parts for yourself where you're not flowing clearly, or like you're having trouble saying certain words in succession, if it's not flowing, if the transitions aren't well, change your poem. It's your poem. Be open to editing your poem. Again, if there are certain places now you realize that don't convey the emotion that you want, change it or take it out, okay? Be open and flexible to that. I'll also say on this slide, it reminded me of a performance that I did yesterday. So I performed for the first time, like I mentioned, with a mask. It was very different. I had a cloth mask, and it started to slide down as I was performing for Mr. Kunumo's class. And so today I switched, or yesterday, or rather for the second period, I switched to a surgical mask, which held in place a lot better. So as you guys are practicing, practice with a mask on as well. Okay, whatever mask you guys are going to use for your performance, just so it's smooth and it doesn't detract. All right, next one. You guys aren't using microphones, but if you go to slams, there'll probably be a microphone there. The point that I want to make with this is people love symmetry. Beauty is in symmetry, right? Symmetry is in beauty. And so wherever you are, you want to make sure that you're centered. So in your classroom space, as you walk in to your classroom the next time, just try and stand up there for a second. Feel what it's like to be in that space centered. If you're on screen presenting, those of you who are doing distance learning, you don't want to be presenting way off to the side like this, or have like your face half cut off like this. You want to be centered and nice and straight in the screen. Yeah. So just recognize space, I guess. That's the major point for this slide. I do want to reemphasize this: clarity above all else. Make sure you have a central theme. Yeah, do not deviate from that theme or the purpose of your poem. You don't want to take readers in different directions or listeners in different directions. Once you do that, people will tune out. They'll be following one story. If you jump into something else, your mind is immediately taken there. So again, in getting feedback, try and have a central theme. You can do reverse outline even. So you go on your poem now and do an outline. Say, okay, this stanza is about this, this, and if it all aligns, perfect. If it doesn't, maybe again, time to edit. Next one, super important. Everyone wants you to be amazing. So everybody wants to be entertained. Like everybody wants to hear like a good poem. Yeah. Give that to them. You guys writing already is super strong. So just work a little bit more on that performing aspect and you guys will be fine. I'll also put out, you guys are a pretty close group to begin with. I mean, you've shared a couple years with your entire class, given one was online, but you've shared experiences in that space. And so I'm gonna ask all of you to agree to be understanding and respectful and empathetic and loving of each other's poems and supportive. And if you can do that, everyone else will feel more comfortable sharing some of their emotions. So be amazing. Looking forward to seeing the amazing things that you guys produce. All right, next one we went over. I'm having an interesting voice, but what I'm gonna do again is just read this last sentence here, okay? You will not sound as stupid as you think you look, okay? it feels weird for me to read that slowly, but it emphasized that particular sentence, right? I would imagine that it came across pretty clearly to you folks. Yeah. And so just think about that. Again, where do you want to slow down your words? If you have golden lines or phrases or research that you really think are important to your audience, those are the places that you want to slow down. You could put like dashes between the words, or again, make a notation to yourself to slow down. All right, next one, instruct or entertain, or if possible, do both. Taylor Malley's a funny guy. He always tries to incorporate some humor. The point here is that you cannot always keep people on edge, like, or you cannot always be super reserved. Yeah. If I was screaming at the screen the whole time for 3 minutes in my poem, you guys wouldn't have a chance to kind of reflect on some of the information that I was saying. So you have to give people a chance to breathe a little bit, take in what you're saying, and then go back into some of the serious ideas. So although you might not intersperse humor, make sure you have places where you kind of come back down. And that's where your tone comes back down a little bit more, or goes up if you needed to. One other thing is this one: never ever say, and I see this so many times in presentations, like not only for slam, but just in general, never ever ever say, I just wrote this today, or oh, sorry guys, I'm nervous, or oh, this poem's gonna suck. Yeah, for a couple of reasons. One is that like you're already setting up the audience to expect a junk poem. And you don't want to do that. Like if someone says that, I'm like, oh, they didn't even put effort in. Why should I even be listening, right? The other thing is you're giving yourself an out. So that's lack of confidence on your part. Even if you did actually write it that morning, or you're super nervous, don't say it. Don't say that, okay? Have a little bit more confidence. It'll help you to perform your poem a lot better. All right, next one. All right, this one is important for the writing process when you guys go back through. Sometimes the simplest way to say something is the best way. Yeah, I know you guys are writing poetry, and the tendency is sometimes to really try and make things poetic and over poetic. And that's fine sometimes on the page when people have time to go back and reread the line over and over. But in a performance, people are digesting that immediately. And so you don't want to be too convoluted. This line right here, sometimes I wished I were an only child, super effective. Right? It's pretty deep. And I mean, if you have siblings, to say that is kind of selfish sometimes, but it's powerful. Yeah. If I had said this in a different way and tried to dress it up in metaphor, like, oh, sometimes I wish I were the only flower amongst the field of lilies and roses, like that might come across, but you might not be thinking that, oh, I mean that I was an only child, if that makes sense. Yeah. So don't convolute your words. You don't have to be too poetic in the slam. All right, next one, stay still or have a reason for moving. Those of you who are performing in class, you see the gentleman on the screen, a lot of the TED Talks, what they recommend, they have a marker on the floor. You just plant your feet and you're standing still with your hands at your side. Like I'm doing it right now on screen. I feel weird doing it, but it looks okay on screen. Yeah, it's not distracting. What happens is you kind of lean back on things. If you're close to the board, you start tapping. You've seen people do the two-step action. They start rocking back and forth like this. They start tapping something maybe. So practice that. Like if you don't have a reason to be moving around or being expressive, just stand still. Yeah, it still allows you some freedom to move your hands, but it won't be distracting. So just another performance tip there. This one, next one is important. There'll be somebody, guarantee, who forgets a line or a section. Like this has happened to me on a number of occasions. Like for whatever reason, there's so many poems in my head or things going on, or I catch somebody's eye, I forget a line. Yeah, I forget the next word. And so there's a couple things you can do here. Usually what works is just taking a pause. Like usually you just kind of close your eyes. I can remember the line I just said, and then the following line, and I can get back into the groove. The audience doesn't really know. They'll just think that maybe it's a dramatic pause or you're kind of using it for emotional effect. The worst thing you can do is you're jamming the poem, you're in your zone, and then, forgot. What is it? And then you break the whole connection with the audience. So try not to have that break. I don't know, I'll put out there to Ms. Kabuto, if you guys are maybe at the beginning of your poem and you want to do a quick restart, maybe she'll allow that. Or if like you need a line, she might give you like the next word or something just to help keep you going, just so you're not totally stressing up there about needing to know the next thing. But other suggestions for this is have a plan B. Like the inside joke for slam poetry is that like a lot of poets would start singing Amazing Grace in their poems. Yeah. If you have a song, I don't know, a Sudden Rush song or something that goes along with your poem, you can go start singing that verse or something until you get back into your zone. The other thing you can do is have your own refrain or chorus ready to go that pertains to your poem. So if you forget a line, you can start just saying like or repeating a certain line, and you can say it again in your poem. Remember, nobody knows what you wrote except for you. So once you get back on track, usually you feel kind of better and then you're back in your zone. Yeah. But it'll happen. So just be ready for it. And then lastly, try and signal that the poem is over or the presentation is over. You can say thank you. Like you noticed that I did a little kind of gesture. You could do the dramatic walk off if you want, drop the mic. Some poetry slams are super like over the top, like they'll fall down at the end or something like that. But what you want to try and avoid is just the awkward kind of clap if you have one more line to deliver. Yeah, so just keep that in mind. All right, guys, so that is a lot of information. How are you guys feeling so far? You feel a little bit more equipped to perform slam poems or not? So what are, maybe we'll start with this. What are some of the apprehensions or fears that are still lingering for you folks? Just so we can kind of get them out in the open. Yeah, how are you guys feeling? Scared that you're gonna forget? Yeah, so there's always that. So there's things that you can do to prepare for that, right? If you have it memorized and you've been practicing, the odds of you forgetting go down a lot. And then I'm not sure if you guys all have to present in person. So I think those of you on DL might have an exception for that. We'll see. Yeah, I think all of you who are in person now or on campus at some point will present in person. If you can, those of you who are on DL, like I would recommend that you guys do in person too. I'm gonna be totally honest, it is a nerve-wracking experience, but it'll be like the energy that you get in the room is super special. Like that flow of energy that happens is something that'll stay with you for sure for a long time. So yeah, you guys will present in person, and it'll be cool. It'll be fun. All right, anything else? Anything else people are apprehensive about or have fears about, or I'm not looking for it. Yeah, so like I shared with you, like I know in high school, I hated doing public speaking type stuff, but maybe for you, Kai, this will be one of those things where it gets you kind of past that a little bit and you'll be able to be more confident in other situations. All right. Ms. Kapato, anything that I missed?
I'm not sure what the TT is. Is that eyes crying? Oh, the eyes are crying. Thank you, Jake. Yeah, that's why we are preparing now so that you guys can, what do you guys call yourselves? You guys can be Hamas, I mean, really, we have almost about, we have close to like three weeks to really do this right. So some of you guys have time to adjust your poems. Like in our last class, one girl was like, I gotta cut out some lines because hers goes like 4 minutes long because she has so much. And then some of you guys are gonna totally revamp your poem because now you're thinking about other things, which is great. So anyway,
and again, don't be afraid to edit. Like for me too, it's hard to cut out lines because I think every line is so good, like in PowerPoint, it needs to be in the poem. But if it's not working for the overall structure, you can save it. Save those lines for another poem, like save them for another day or something. It could be your refrain.
Yeah.
But anyway,
all right.
Yeah. So
let's go ahead and thank him.
Yeah. So while you guys are thanking, I want to also mahalo you folks as well.
Pulling around. Okay. Sorry.
No, back in the game. Yeah, so thank you folks for, again, allowing me to share this virtual space with you. I'm always honored, blessed, and appreciative of your time. Thank you guys for going through the workshops and at least having fun with it. Hopefully that you guys learned a little bit from it. I'll also honestly say that I learned from the questions that you've asked and the responses that I've had to give. So in some small way, you have changed my life in a positive way for today. So know that all of you contributed to that. So I mahalo you. I thank you folks. I look forward genuinely to seeing some of your written work and listening to these amazing performances. So mahalo to you guys. And I'll see some of you at lunch. if not at Okanaka Center in the future. Yeah, I'll share the presentation with you folks.
All righty, thank you. All right, so what we're gonna do, we have some time right now. I'm gonna be reconfiguring these breakout rooms a little bit. Actually, I'm just gonna keep it the same because we have, you know, people at home right now, and then the people that are in class, you guys are going to practice with each other. Okay, if you haven't uploaded your video performance yet because something was, you know, hamajang with the Canvas, then go ahead and upload now so I can give you some points for that. But anyway, yes, thank you, Dr. Anderson, for your time. All right, so let's go back into our breakout rooms, and then I want you guys to kind of practice with each other. All right, and then when we come back tomorrow, we're gonna do a little bit more practicing as well, and then you're gonna have a major time to revise your poems tomorrow. My suggestion to you is to finish your Membing tonight so that you have one less thing tomorrow. Yes, Apole. Yeah, Membing. So I would do Membing tonight. And then when you come back to class, you can just focus on that. I guess we'll do that. And then I'm going to close out class by just showing you what's up for the last part for this week. Okay, so go ahead and get into your breakout rooms, and then you guys in the class, I want you guys to, like, let's see how we could do this. Hey, your rabbit is dead. Maybe just like move or something, or you can go outside and partner up or whatever, so you guys can read your poems to each other. Okay, or you can check out what it is. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, you're with Apole, that's why it doesn't matter. Yeah. Yeah. Wait, where's your poem? Where's your poems? Oh, go grab your laptop because you wanna share with each other. Where's Kaylee Wright? Hey, how's it going?
Oh, sorry, I was taking notes for something.
Oh, girl, where's your uniform?
I had to come to my grandma's last minute.
Okay.
That's why I had a blanket on.
Right. I was like, what am I looking at? Shoulders? Oh my goodness. Okay. Go join Tia. She's waiting for you. Poor thing. Okay. You know what you're going to have to do?
Come by me. We'll brainstorm first draft.
Okay, so like you guys can share each other's like poems in the chat or whatever. Okay, Blaze's poem is on the verge of becoming a masterpiece. Okay, do you have different names for like screwdrivers? Are there different names? Right, there are.
Flathead and a Phillips.
Right, so start using, like, maybe you can add those into, right, your poem, right? You know what I mean? Like when you need a flathead, you usually have a Phillips, right? So it's good to be prepared, something like that. I don't know. Like right now I need a Phillips screwdriver because my thing's down, but I don't have one. Okay, Alicia, how's your poem?
Good. I gotta find my
Did you-
poem.
Oh, do you need? I thought I saw. So did you have a chance to record yourself and video?
I was trying to, but my photo booth was acting up.
Oh, okay. Maybe you can just try again and just video yourself. Yeah, because what you need to do is play it back to yourself so you can practice. Okay.
And I just recorded my phone instead.
Yeah, totally. That's, I think, the fastest way to do that. Okay, and then I don't know if you have like your Google Drive on your phone, but you can easily like put it to your Google Drive and then upload it that way. Blaze, that response you gave Elise like totally changed her. That was good.
Which one?
You know how she like just keeps going and going and going, and you told her something like, you build it up and then we're waiting for the beat to drop, but it never drops. Like,
Oh yeah. So I was like, oh, okay, she's gonna, yeah.
because it was good, but it was like it's off. Like that was good. So anyway, go ahead and say your poem to Elysia, like just out loud, so he can kind of hear what your poem sounds like. And then Elysia, maybe you can give him some pointers, like maybe you can pause right here or repeat this word or something like that. Okay.
La fa ta ti di, ti la fa to, la 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 la, ta 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 ta. Okay. Group a screwdriver with a bunch of wrenches, and that screwdriver will feel useless because he can't tighten any bolts. But bolts are for wrenches and screws are for screwdrivers. You see, if you group 20 students in one classroom and teach them all the same things the same way, and one or two students can't keep up, they can't tighten the bolt. Why? Because they are like the screwdrivers with 18 other wrenches. All kids aren't equal. All kids have different strengths and weaknesses. So why does the schooling system teach every student the same way? Some kids are very smart but don't learn the same way as others, and so they fail. They get Fs, and all they are known for is a failure. But in reality, the screwdriver is a very important tool. We fix this by making changes. We adapt to the students' differences. We adapt to their strengths and weaknesses. We create a better environment. We create a better school for all students. Oh, Alicia left.
Yeah, but I stayed here. I listened to you. Okay, so let's look at this. So you know, like the F's, right? You can expand that idea of F's, like, and the F means fantastic, and the F means this, and the F means that. F does not mean failure, right? Because the F's are for functional, right? You are functional in the world instead of hopeless, right? So that's what the big deal is right now with this generation. Is there's a lot of kids that cannot do anything to take care of themselves, but your F is for functional, not failure, right? So play on the alliteration of the F's. Maybe you can look up F words, okay? And that might help you, because you have such a good poem. Screwdrivers are for turning, right? Making moves, tightening up things, right? So maybe build that imagery or that metaphor, okay? You have a really good poem, Blaze. This is big time, okay? So I don't know if you saw your classmates' comments, but they're all in on this poem. Yeah, did you see that?
No, I didn't read any.
Yeah, you gotta go back and look. And then just think about like what do screws and bolts do, right? They hold people together, right? They hold things together. So that's why you need those screwdrivers. They're not for screw ups, right? So maybe play on the word screw, right? They're not for screw ups. They're for people to drive them forward, something like that, right? So play on the words that you have already, and then you can expand your poem. Okay, I just try to give you some ideas because this poem is on the verge. Okay. Woo! I'm really stoked about this poem. You know, what you're talking about is one of the reasons why I became a teacher. To make sure that kids like you can get something out of school and then go do what you're going to do after. Okay, so I hear this poem. I got it. Okay. All right, you can go back into the main room.
Astronomer.
I'm going to go.
Oh, she just left.
She actually left. Kidding. She wasn't kidding.
Wait, what do you want to be?
Like an astronomer, a paleontologist, and then of course an actor, but also like an environmental scientist and a
Yeah.
It's like so out there.
Yeah, I think I know what you mean. Cause I would want to be like a psychologist, but not really because I don't want to like always talk to people, and I don't know. I just want to like be rich or something, and like give back to people. Like, actually, I just want to fix the whole world, but then that's like a whole thing I could do. But that's probably the main goal of my life. And then maybe that's why, like, when you have so much goals, maybe it's all like one goal, and then it all stems off of that goal. Kind of.
It's easier to maintain stuff if you put them in tiny goals.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a very big conservationalist, so I'm like, oh my god, let's save the earth. But I feel happy even if I like plant trees for a day, because I'll be like, it helped a little bit.
Yeah. I think I should do more things that I care about, because I just spend my time doing things I need to do, like school and stuff, and sports, and helping my family.
Yeah. Are you guys done?
Yeah.
I'm gonna close class. Hang on. Wait, don't leave. To look at your screens and listen to me. Listen to me. Okay. Listen to me, listen to me, listen to me just real fast. Shh. Okay. Thank you. I don't like shushing people. Okay. So, irritating. Hang on. Where is my modules? Okay. So I need everybody to just look, okay? Look over here. Tomorrow we're gonna check in. So do your membing tonight if you can. If not, tomorrow's a good day to do it. What we have here is we have this, and you can do this tonight too. You guys are going to be diving in, okay, to a bunch of collections of slam poems from UH Manoa, all here in the middle. These poems are going to speak to you because these are your Pacific Islander brothers and sisters, okay? Next, this one, I curated a bunch of slam poems for you. This is the poem right here. Lemon Anderson performs, please don't take my Air Jordans. This poem is crazy good. For those of you guys who want more of a touchy thing, this letter to if I should have a daughter, whoo, okay? And then Kauna, if you haven't seen Kauna yet, this will make you rage. I don't know, okay? So anyway, please make sure you watch those. There is a quick assignment for that, and this is gonna help you to also make those changes to your third draft, all right? So I want you to make sure you add in to the discussion board, which poem was your favorite, why, and then share out 2 highlights, okay? And how you're going to apply that to your third draft, okay? So that's a discussion board. I want you guys to share that out because you might help somebody else say, hey, check this video out because blah, blah, blah. this gives you an idea. Okay, so tomorrow we'll all check back in. I want you guys to really work on how your poem sounds. I had one student, seriously, she was like, I need to cut out some lines because I have too many words. And if you have to do that, then do it. Okay, some of you guys also have to simplify. There are some of your poems that sound more like reading research papers instead of telling a story. So maybe you have to do a little bit of adjusting there. Okay, but other than that, you're gonna post your third video here, like on Sunday night or something. The earlier the better though, then I can kind of check it out. I'm gonna suggest that those of you guys who haven't sent me your poem to look at, like send it to me, because I try to give you guys as much input as possible, and then you guys just choose whatever. Like if you don't want to take my suggestions, then that's yours, right? I'm not trying to ruin your authenticity. Okay, next we're gonna start reading the novel next week. All right, so if you look down here, if you look at the screen, okay, what we have here is, if you're reading Nickel Boys, you just follow along. If you're reading To Kill a Mockingbird, chapters 1 through 8. So what happens is everybody's going to be answering the same question based off of the book you're reading. Okay, so you'll make a copy of this, and then you can put your notes in the boxes. Okay, so you'll have your own copy. Just upload it, because I think after you upload, it's still, I'm gonna try and check this out, but I think it's still updates as you change the doc. Okay, everybody good on that? So each week, this is worth 20 points. Make sense? Okay, you guys, it's been wonderful. Okay, please take a look at all those poems. I want you to go wandering around in that on those playlists. Those poems are mean. Okay, anyway, see you guys. Membeen out. Okay, bye.